that'd take a while. And this is how you come down. Dog Central here. I'm at my buddy Jeff's place. We shared his GoFundMe earlier this year. He had that unfortunate accident out here alone at his place and basically blew himself up with a propane leak. But we hung out last night, had a fire, and let the camera rip for I don't know how long. We started having beers and bullshitting about everything, and Sasquatch and Bigfoot, whatever you want to call it. And there's a lot said, a lot talked about, and a handful of beers. Probably all the beers. Anyways, there's 3 dogs here. One's tied up, screaming its head off. I don't have that one tied up. It's a gong show. Ruby's in the truck, and there's a little healer right here that's being pretty good. I thought, well, Jeff's got that Starlink internet. He had to take off to work this morning, so I thought, alright, well, maybe I'll set up the camera and get some emails shared. And then me and Ruby are going to go on another big hike somewhere else. These mountains behind me are on fire with, there's definitely a lot of beings living right around me, or Jeff right here. He's had his place has been slapped in the night here. His son was face to face with one in the timber right here before. It's endless. Birkenhead Lake is behind me. You can Google that up. Birkenhead Lake. And it's ongoing in all these mountains all around here. Right here. But anyways, I'm on my old phone and I got some emails that need to be heard that were sent in quite a while ago. So listen to this. This one's titled Bigfoot Sighting and Experiences North of Two Harbors, Minnesota. I'm not ready to share my name yet. I had some very obvious experiences since July 2020. The past 10 days I've had a lot. The first thing I noticed was a bunch of, quote, drones, end quote. 2 big white one came close about a quarter mile away from the camouflage position of looking like any bright star. I drove to Stewart Lake, usually a 20-minute drive. Got there in 10. Same 2 right there close again. They aren't drones because they zoom away. Had hundreds of red ones that look like satellites but move very erratically when I look at them. After a few nights of this, 2 sat above my deck at about 1,000 feet. After an hour I had enough shot. After an hour I had enough and shot 5 12-gauge shells at them. They zoomed up to about 2 miles away in 1 or 2 seconds. The next day I had my first Bigfoot experience. I heard a loud, high-pitched single hoot 75 feet off my deck by the woodpile. I was on the deck in 3 seconds. I heard another hoot about 150 feet past the woodpile. Then I heard a loud ting, like a wooden spoon on a saucepan. Then another hoot and a loud ting, 200 feet past that towards the road. I was already running up the driveway and it took about 10 seconds. Then I heard one more loud, very happy-sounding hoot about a quarter mile into the thick bush and fresh logging area. Covered a lot of ground. And then I had a lot more. Some of those are in the screenshot below. I hope you don't mind. It's a reply to a comment of one of your videos. I had another, quote, drones and very weird black bear, end quote, experience in Montana 2 years before. It definitely was something different. Didn't understand it till this summer. Had a lot of activity the past 10 days, right after the orbs showed up again in full force and were coming in close, just like a dog chasing you. I turned around and they stop. Next night. Followed loud footsteps. Husky very afraid, not leaving the house once I let him in. Then I drove 2 miles at 50 miles per hour and the same footsteps, etc., etc. Alright, then he gave me a screenshot from your computer screen of a comment. I'm going to try to read this. I'd love to hear some of what you are willing to share. I had my first encounter last summer in June, and they were very, very active for a few months. I think most of the things I saw, heard, and smelled and experienced were from teenagers, but had some interaction with full-grown males, I'm sure. The younger ones were doing funny stuff, opening and slamming the storm door multiple times, clapping really loud, not long after slamming the door or tapping on the window, finding my lost throwing axe and putting it at the base of the tree in plain sight. I smelled them a couple times after running toward the door, slamming. Multiple times I heard at least 2 on the opposite sides mumbling and tapping. Never had anything thrown at me or the hair on my neck stand up real bad. Definitely was very scared for a bit in June, but crossed the gravel road, but was able to power through it. I've controlled my fear tenfold. I also saw a bipedal brown, very furry animal that was about 6.5 feet tall, and it crossed the gravel road in 3 to 4 steps. Not in any hurry, but definitely quick. I was about 1/5 a mile away and could clearly see it. That was the only 100% clear daylight visual, but I've seen something very tall move past the garage in the dark, but it was definitely more concealed than a normal large furry animal. Highly unlikely it was a man in a monkey suit because of my location, mumbling by the woodpile and getting there from the opposite side of the house after tapping on the siding like in 1.3 seconds. The best I could do would be like 6 seconds, but about. Banging on metal objects like a saucepan as they were running past the woodpile and hooting really loud. Sounded like a very happy, completely not aggressive action, but damn, they cover the ground fast. Maybe think of Johnny Appleseed hopping through the forest. Had a bunch of that till September. Not much until last week when it was -20, -35. Interesting. Well, had a bit in between. Just some wood knocking and weird sounds, but the past week I've had more going on. I'm very careful to get my puppy inside when I notice things. Or he does at night. He doesn't try to resist. He does in the daytime. This summer I had quite a bit of action. Noticed some things in a different way than bunnies or squirrels, deer, beavers, or foxes. He acts like he does for wolves when I don't think it's wolves. We have quite a few wolves any given week. I live in northern Minnesota, a very secluded area. Could we chat privately? I'm not ready to put my name out there yet. Wow, this was a while back. I hope everything's still okay around there where you are. Sounds like you're remote, and somebody's having a lot of fun where you live, aren't they? If you're still with us and still following us, maybe email me back, alright? Email me back and give us an update of what's going on. If it stopped, if you're seeing anything else. And sorry it took a while to get your email, but I got to it. But email me back, alright? And give us an update of what's going on at your place. Sounds like a lot. Sounds like you're pretty remote too. I'm pretty remote here where I am right now. Excuse me. Here's another one. Good morning, Steve. I'd like to tell you a story that happened to me in the span of 2 years. I'll keep it simple so it's easy to understand for your listeners, but please do not use my name. I worked for the state of Arkansas for 13 years. I was located at one of the most beautiful parks in the state, Queen Wilhelmina. Was located on the top of the second highest mountain in the state. Rich Mountain was in the Ouachita Mountains. I know I probably pronounced it wrong. I always do. The lodge was built in 1898. Big story behind this lodge, with too long of a history to tell it here. A beautiful place. While working at this location, several really strange things happened. when we were to have bad weather, someone of the wait staff was to volunteer to stay the night to serve guests who were in the lodge. There would be a cook and the manager. I was head day shift waitress in the dining room. It was easy to take turns as we were provided with a room and meals while we were in the lodge. Back to the things happening. I have on occasion heard people talking who were not there. I've had things move on tables with no one in the dining room to move them, but that's another story altogether. That'd be creepy. In the late summer 2000, I just happened to work the evening shift because someone needed to have a day off, so I worked for her. So, there was 2 ways off this mountain. We called them the short way and the long way, for obvious reasons. Short way off was a winding 1-mile long drop off the side steep road which led to the valley floor and an easy road into town. The long way was over the top of the mountain, a winding 13-mile long road with some drop-offs at points. No one ever took the long way at night because it was dangerous. When we were closing that night, I said I was going to go over the top home because the moon was full and it was a warm late summer night and I wanted to stop at some of the lookout points and see the lights of the valley. Think I was crazy? You bet. The desk clerk asked me please not to go that way home. I told him I would be okay. Well, as I was just sailing along with all the windows down, enjoying the wind in my hair and relaxing after work, when I heard the god-awful scream I have ever heard in my life. I slammed on the brakes. I thought someone had driven off the side of the mountain and was screaming for help. It was then I felt shivers go down my spine. There was a growl like a mad animal and another scream. I hit the gas and started putting the windows up. I was still about 5 miles out of town. I made it home safely and told my father-in-law. My husband was out of town on work. Excuse me. My father-in-law told me it was not the first time those screams had been heard on that mountain, and he told me I should ask my friend from Oklahoma that went to my church what was making those screams, and he asked me to never come home that way again. The next Sunday, I asked my friend to have a small chat with me after church as I had a few questions for her. I did not tell her what I needed, but waited until after service. Well, she's a Native American from Honobia, Oklahoma. That is where Bigfoot is seen all the time, and they have even had a festival for it every year. She told me everything. Many are seen and heard in her hometown. She also asked me to not go over the top of the mountain again alone. I never went across the top again, even in the daytime. Mind you, I did not see what made that scream, but there's no doubt in my mind what made that horrible scream and the growl that followed. Wilhelmina, Wilhelmina Park has several hiking trails. One is Lover's Leap. The trail is only 1.3 miles long. I've hiked it several times alone and with people. A few times I have felt uneasy while on this trail, like someone following me. On Christmas Day 2000, Mena and Polk County, Arkansas was hit with a massive ice storm. Remember this date. After the storm, the park had several people from the state crew department come and work cleanup as there was a lot of trees down. This crew cleared Lover's Leap Trail for those guests who may want to hike, as one place on this trail you could view the entire valley 1,700 feet below, and it was the easiest to clear. Fast forward into January 2001. After the screaming in the previous fall, I had spent the night of the 25th of January 2001 on the mountain. My turn. There was a few rooms in the lodge occupied, but people were driving up from town because they wanted to see the frozen trees and have lunch. 1 month after the ice storm, there was nothing to run the dining room by myself because we had a breakfast/lunch buffet on weekends. It's Friday the 26th, January 2001. A lady, her husband, and 2 younger people came into the restaurant to have lunch before going to walk the Lover's Leap Trail. They were not guests at the lodge. They asked me several questions about the park and the history and about the trail. They had lunch and left. I watched them walk across the parking lot and had a very strange feeling there was something wrong with this little group of people. I remember the lady had on a very bright, glossy yellow jacket on, like old-time slickers. Just as I was leaving from my shift, the man and the younger couple came in and said they could not find the lady anywhere. Seems she did not want to go the entire hike and turned around to return to the lodge restaurant to wait on the others. I was asked if I had seen her return, and I had not. the woman had vanished. No trace to this day has ever been found of her. No one saw her come off the trail, and she did not return to the lodge. Her name is Gloria Jean MacDonald. They searched for her for 2 weeks, and nothing was found. No clothes, no jewelry, no camera, no ID at all, just plain nothing. While living in Arkansas, I had several things happen. Maybe I'll tell you more at a later date. I retired from the lodge later in 2001, and I now live in Nashville, Tennessee, and work security for a major manufacturing company. I'd appreciate you not using my name, as I still have contact with friends in Arkansas, and I don't think my company would like it. Steve, take care, and stay safe. And you too, Nancy. That's an oddball story, isn't it? Somebody weird. Sorry, funny. Sarah and I were just talking about that the other day. Talking about how people have absolutely vanished just like that. And I was saying to her, I'm like, wouldn't that be bizarre? If I took you steelhead fishing and boom, you disappear. Next thing you know, Steve's in jail. No matter what are you going to say? She vanished. Wouldn't that be absolutely crazy? But it's happening. Where are they going? How do you vanish? Dave's been looking into a lot of that. He probably knows of that case too, I would imagine. Pretty crazy. I haven't heard the scream roar yet. I hope I don't. It doesn't sound like anything anybody wants to hear. Thanks for sending that in. Appreciate you. It's freezing out here. It was snowing last night. There's a lot of snow up on the road in here still. Now, let's see if I can get another one done before my fingers freeze off. Steve, I want you to know how much I appreciate the work that you're doing concerning our giant cousins, the Sasquatch. This is the second time I've emailed you. The first one I sent you was about my experience 50 years ago with Bigfoot when I was 18 in southern Missouri. I never thought that you would tell my story in one of your videos, but you did. Sasquatch First Nations Words of Wisdom was the title of that video. Thanks for my 50 minutes of fame. After retiring 3 years ago and moving to Kansas with my wife, we had previously lived in the northwest corner of Colorado for over 35 years. This part of the state is some of the best hunting I've ever seen. Bear, mountain lion, elk, deer, coyote, etc. The largest elk herd I've ever seen was up in northwest Colorado, an estimated 6,000 back in 1988. At least that's what the Fish and Game Department said. That's a lot of elk. Now here's the reason I'm emailing you. I've noticed you often get some UFO and other related stories. I've got 2 stories for you. Back in '68, in Great Bend, Kansas, 4 of my cousins and I went to the drive-in and watched the movie Bullet with Steve McQueen. During the famous chase scene, above the screen were some unusual-looking white lights in a weird formation. These lights moved slowly from left to right or east to west. They moved so slow that you could count them. There were 32 of them. I know because I counted them 3 times. That's how slow they moved. All of a sudden, these lights stopped moving, and as fast as your eyes could follow, they made a U-turn heading back east. I've never seen anything move that fast before in my life. All 5 of us just looked at each other in dead silence. After about 10 or 15 seconds, we all said at the same time, "What was that?" I feel confident of what we saw because about 200 others saw the same thing we did. Here's the other story, the best one I've heard when it comes to weird sightings and UFOs. For 32 years I worked in the coal industry in northwest Colorado. After my first year or so, I got to be good friends with a supervisor. He grew up in Ouray, Colorado. When he was 18, he and 3 of his high school buddies were driving around in his Willys Jeep, hot rodding on the dirt roads of the San Juan Mountains. Ouray is an old mining town in southern Colorado. My friend said he was going about 40 to 50 miles an hour going up and down the roads, which was very dangerous since the roads were not paved. Plus, it was at night, and deer and elk are sometimes just standing in the middle of the road. As they were hot rodding up and down one particular road, as soon as they cleared the top coming down, my friend slammed on his brakes hard. Right in the middle of the road was a silver-colored disc-like object. It was, according to my friend, maybe 10 to 12 feet long, or the entire width of the road, and around 5 feet or so thick, and was suspended about 4 feet off the ground. He said he came within 3 feet of having a head-on collision with this object. He said that not only were he and his buddies scared out of their wits, the object too was caught off guard. He said the silver object wobbled, like it was just as surprised or shocked as they were. It shot straight up, about 20 feet, and headed to their left as fast as you could follow it. He said that they all were stunned and just sat in the Jeep without saying a word. He told me, "Can you even imagine what would have happened if we actually crashed into it? I don't think E.T. would have called AAA or a tow truck for us." I told him, "What exactly would you have written in the accident report for the insurance company?" He said, "I don't know. I've never thought of that." He said he didn't mind sharing a story. He said, "Sure, go ahead, but who's going to believe you?" Thanks again, Steve, for keeping us all informed. Yeah, and thank you for keeping us informed. It's definitely the group effort here, isn't it? So much crazy ass shit going on this planet, you guys. This lifetime is such a crazy ride, isn't it? Here's another one. Steve, I frequent many of the same places as you very often. I wouldn't be surprised if we had passed each other on some of these old forest roads from Squamish to Lillooet. Today I was watching your video, kind of doing something else at the same time, and I overheard you say the word Ilaho. My ears opened up, and that's what got me writing you now, and where one of my stories begin. I spent a lot of time on the Squamish and Ilaho rivers. I took the week off work to avoid the weekend crowds, as it's a shit show back there on the weekend nowadays. I set up camp roughly 2 kilometers from the Ilaho Bridge, just past the recreation camping spot on the right, just after crossing the bridge. I was there to do a week-long spring bear hunt. I set up camp in an unmarked campsite on the left of the road, right next to the river, which I never like doing because you can't hear anything over the sounds of the river. Doing so anyways, there was still some daylight left, so I cooked up a big old T-bone steak I brought along, and some fiddleheads I picked earlier in the day. The whole time while eating my steak and fried fiddleheads, I had the feeling of being watched, constantly looking over my shoulder, and nothing, even hearing a few tree breaks and rustling in the woods on the other side of the road from my camp. Anyway, I just kind of blew it off and finished dinner and chilled by the fire until going to bed. So I went to sleep in my tiny 3-man tent. At about 3 a.m. I was woken with an overwhelming fear I've never felt in my life. I go on solo hunts all the time and have never felt this kind of fear. I just had a feeling to leave the area immediately, or something very bad was going to happen to me. I sleep with my shotgun in the tent always while camping. Just grabbing my shotgun and leaving everything else behind, I jumped to my '01 GMC Jimmy, started it up, and drove. Not fast, just a creeping pace to try to see what was going on. Under 30 seconds of driving, 5 kilometer, I look to my left, and there is a Sasquatch right next to the Ilaho River 20 yards from my tent. Not a monster, 10 feet tall, 800 pounds, but my height, 6'1", slender and skinny. I probably had more mass than this thing. I looked directly at it, and it knew it. It stood perfectly still, staring at the river. Even though it was kind of in the open, it was like it was trying to stand still, as if hoping I couldn't see it. Its head was turned, so I didn't get any facial features. It was covered in short black hair, maybe 2 or 3 inches long. The biggest thing that stood out was how skinny it was. I'm guessing it was a younger Sasquatch. But here's the thing. The fear I had was from something right next to me while in my tent. I'm 95% sure that there was one just outside my tent. I did hear footsteps of something very close as I rushed out of my tent to get in my truck. During the dark and terrified, I didn't even want to look. As for the one I seen while in the truck, people ask, "Why didn't you get a picture or something?" But let me tell you, it's the last thing on your mind when you have an encounter with one or more of these things. After seeing the one by the river, I just kept driving further up the forest road. I drove for an hour or two, until getting stuck on one of those dips off the main road and the rougher logging roads going up in the mountains. Spending most of my day jacking up the truck to get boulders underneath the tires to get unstuck from being high and dry, we call it. Steve, this is a long email. I want to tell you a few more of my encounters, but this email is already a novel. I also spoke with some native elders at Molson Falls, another 15 to 20 kilometers up the road from my encounter. I'm sure you know of Molson Falls. This is just recently I wanted to share their story as well as my own. So hopefully this gets to you so I can share more. Looking forward to hearing from you. Wow. Alright, man. I wonder how much more has happened since then. Have you seen much? I haven't spent too much time up the Squamish Valley because I was in Pemberton, right? And I spent a lot of time between Squamish and Pemberton, and a lot of time between Pemberton and Whistler. Between Squamish and Whistler and Pemberton. And then, of course, the rest of the province, right? But I never really did too much time up that valley. I went up there a fair ways last year, I think, and had a little bit of a snoop around, but it's pretty rugged, right? It's rugged everywhere around here. And there's a lot goes on up that valley still today. Tons of stuff goes on. Oh, actually, one time I went up there, I met with the band chief, and they wanted me to help with their explosion of wolves that were going on. And we got permission, and we started a bait pile. We never actually did any trapping, but we started a bait pile. And we actually took this massive frickin' hog. It was like, I don't know, probably 600 pounds. The farmer needed a forklift to drop my truck. We had to get a tow strap to hook it onto the ball of the truck, wrapped it over the bank, around a tree, onto the hog, and then drove away to get it out of the truck. It was so heavy. And down the bank it went. And a friend of mine in Squamish went and checked on it. Gone. 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 No parts, no nothing. And then, randomly, another friend of mine from Squamish posted a picture. He was mountain biking around there somewhere, and it was about 2 miles away. Found a hog skull on the ground in the mountain bike trail. Took a picture of it. And I'm like, what? That's the hog skull. 2 miles away. Oh, I thought I heard some wolves howling. Nope, just an unhappy dog that he's not running around. Anyway, yeah, I thought I'd drop that little tidbit in there. That was pretty crazy. It's a crazy place, Squamish Valley. Here comes another one. This is titled, Please Look at This. This is red. Hi Steve, my name is Tim Jennings. I live in Anchorage, Alaska. I've been a chef and a baker in remote camps all over this state for about 15 years. Oh, you must have seen some country. Cool. I love to fish, but not much of a hunter. Hell, I've only shot one deer my whole life on Afognak Island. Been there. Not against it all, just have not had that much interest in it. I'd rather just take pictures. I do own guns and I love to shoot. I'm a veteran. Navy and Army National Guard. I'll be 52 this year. Anyway, I promised my friend I would not post this to the public. He was a maintenance guy in one of my remote camps. The picture was taken off his cell phone. With my cell phone. I know it seems cheesy, but I didn't think I'd get it any other way. All I want to know is your opinion. I believe they are real 100%. I believe you have seen them in person. So check out my photo. If you find the time, please send me your opinion. I hope to see one myself someday, but from a distance and not like you did. I camp and fish. Been fishing with the bears in Katmai Park, all that. I felt watched, but I just figured it was bears. Anyways, thanks. Love your YouTube channel. I would never try to bullshit you. I'm an honest to a fault type of guy. Anyway, thanks for your time. And oh, by the way, the picture was taken somewhere outside Willow, Alaska. He wouldn't tell me where exactly. He knows I'm dumb enough to go. It was a trail cam that took it. I think I've seen that picture somewhere. Maybe, possibly. Actually, I got the camera that I can do this on the camera instead of having to go through... Can you guys see that? Creepy, isn't it? But you know, I mean, I don't know what to tell you what I think of it. It's obviously a picture of something weird. And if I had to describe it, it looks like it has a tall sloping head, shining eyes, no neck, big and bulky. There you go. Interesting. I wonder if that was taken, if it's just a still, or if the guy got video of it, or if he knows anything more about those beings around there. It's interesting. I've seen that picture somewhere before. I think it made it to the internet. Crazy. Another one. Okay, one more. I am freezing my ass off here, and we gotta get going. Hello, I found you on YouTube. My name is Melissa, born and raised on Whidbey Island here in the Pacific Northwest. I'm 55 years old. My experience is when I was 13. Back then there was less people, a lot less. We lived on a long dead-end dirt road about a half a mile or so. I didn't like that road much. We had to walk it in the dark to catch the bus in the winter months. Our driveway came down off the dirt road and past the front of our house, which we shared with a neighbor. From our kitchen we could see the long dirt road, maybe 20 yards away. I was doing the dishes. It was a sunny day and I wanted to hurry to get the chore done so I could go outside. We lived on a 6-acre farm and there's lots to do. I looked out the window past our driveway to see a big, hairy creature walking fast. He had a big walking stick, hair covering his entire body. His hair was medium red and brown in color, and he had what looked like a deer hide vest covering his upper body. Call me crazy, but that is exactly what I saw. He turned and looked at me, but somehow I wasn't afraid. I didn't tell anyone back then. No one would believe me. Oh hell, even now when I tell it, I get the look. As a kid growing up on the farm, it always felt safe. I never had fear of the creature. The second time I saw it was very early on a winter morning walking to catch the bus. It was just starting to get light and the creature was too far down the road to get a good look. This one was pure black. Still no fear. 3 years ago I was doing a 3-day kayaking trip with my brother at Baker Lake, Washington. On one of the days we were sitting in camp and I heard something up through the woods a bit. My brother heard it too, and he got pissed because we were trying to get away from humans. We both stood up and looked at the big old growth, and we saw a dark figure behind an old growth that had fallen down. I knew the Baker Lake Trail was up there, but I didn't think we were camped that close. We decided to check it out. We walked up the hill through the old growth, keeping our eyes on the one laying on its side. Oh my, was it big. The closer we got to the damn tree, we realized there was no way any human could walk behind it. You would have to be over 7 feet tall. Let's not mention there was no Baker Lake Trail. I looked at my brother. His face went white. I decided it was time to get back to camp. We had no trouble or heard anything through the night. We woke the next morning with high winds and lots of chop in the water. We made the decision to cut the trip short. We packed up the boats and headed out. Hardest paddle in my life, but that's for another story. When we finally made it to the other side of the lake, something very large started crashing through the brush. I'm thinking of moose. My brother said bear, but it was not the right time of day. The damn thing followed us all the way to the first public boat access. We had to pull in at the spot due to 3-foot waves with whitecaps, knowing one of us would have to jog down the mountain road for about 3 miles to get the truck. I'm older, so he got the short end of that, so I thought. As soon as he took off on foot down the road, I took a quick look around. I quickly realized we were the only ones left in the park. It was a Tuesday and the end of summer. I caught a glimpse of the big bear-proof dumpster we checked out 2 days before. And oh my, it looked like a Hulk bashed it in. I realized that no bear could do that. Before my brother left, he told me I should think about setting up camp just in case something happens and he can't make it back. That's what I set about doing. Everything got real quiet after a bit, and I heard a loud noise up on the hillside above the place we camped. Right after, another on the opposite hill. Then the squirrels started their warning chirpings from one side of the woods to the other in front of me. I decided at this point to park my ass inside the brand new bear-proof porta potty. Not more than a few seconds of me setting up for the long wait, the knocking started. One knock over there, then another opposite. It got louder and closer. I'd never seen the things, but you know it was there. The brush was thick on this side of the lake. Hearing them was not hard. I heard some grunts and one growl, and I got to be honest, I was scared out of my mind. I was very happy having a solid building to hide in. Whatever it was stayed hidden, but I could sure hear it or them. One was enough. At this point, I'm still telling myself bear. I'd run into plenty of them camping at Chawawa River, with my folks growing up. And then I heard it up on the hillside, and it was a moan-like whooping sound nothing I'd ever heard before. It was loud and sent chills up my back. But then it all stopped. Not a sound. A few minutes later, birds were back to chirping, and the squirrel that showed up on the picnic table earlier was back in view. I decided I wasn't moving from my safe place until my brother returned, which happened about 30 minutes later. It was a fast, load the truck and get out. Needless to say, not a word was spoke all the way home. Never in my life have had that kind of fear, and prefer to never experience it again. I'm an avid backpacker, backcountry kayak camping, weeks at a time, lots of thrill-seeking adventures in my short 55 years, with room for a lot more. The Baker Lake experience has changed my way of thinking when I'm out there. My guard is always up to a point, and I listen to my inner voice without question. Thank you for your time, Melissa. Thank you for your time, Melissa. That's not the first time somebody shared with everyone that they've seen them wearing some kind of garment. That's been noted before. And then the walking stick. My memory went to a guy, I don't know who it was. Apparently he used to live in Bamfield, where my boat is. And I think he messaged me on social media or commented somewhere. This is quite a while ago, a few years ago. And he said, I guess he's a wood poacher, which goes on quite a bit. They will go out in the nighttime and cut trees, a big tree somewhere, and poach it for shake block or whatever they do. And I think he was stealing cedar for shake blocks. He didn't leave his name or anything. But he said he's seen one of these things in the middle of nowhere. I'm guessing he's probably around the Klanawa. I would guess. And he said he was standing there with a great big club in his hand, just standing there in the logging slash looking. And he said it had a great big, what he described as a club in its hand, just standing there. Yeah. It's endless. But anyway, I gotta get moving. I haven't had a coffee, no food, no shower. I've got 2-day campfire smoke scent. And it's freezing. Then I'm gonna use Jeff's Wi-Fi here. I got my laptop, and I'll get this video out to you guys. And then I'm gonna take the dog, go into town, get something to eat, and then we're gonna go hit the mountain again to another place and see what we can see. And I will be back again, and I'm gonna videotape everything and show you guys everything again.